April 6, 1945, Merkers, Germany. Two military policemen from the 90th Infantry Division stopped a pair of Frenchwomen walking past curfew near a salt mine entrance. The women, displaced persons forced into German labor, mentioned something that made Private First Class Clyde Harmon pay closer attention. German soldiers had been bringing truckloads of material into the Kaiserota mine for weeks, they said, working at night, sealing chambers deep underground. What the MPs couldn't know yet was that this casual conversation would lead to one of the largest treasure discoveries in history and confirm that the rumors spreading through Allied intelligence were true. The Third Reich was moving vast wealth across Germany as Soviet forces closed in from the east, and some of those convoys were vanishing without trace. The Merkers discovery came 2 days later when Lieutenant Colonel William Russell followed up on the MP's report. On April 8th, American engineers entered the mine's labyrinth of tunnels and located the sealed vault in a chamber known as Room Number 8. On April 10th, with the vault key missing and fears of booby traps, they dynamited a hole through the brick wall adjacent to the massive steel door. The explosion revealed a chamber 2,000 feet underground that held one of the greatest treasure troves in history. Inside a vault measuring 75 by 150 feet, they found 8,198 gold bars stacked in neat rows, 55 boxes of crated gold bullion, hundreds of bags containing gold coins from multiple nations, and over 1,300 boxes of currency, including American $20 gold pieces. The bags were sealed, numbered, and arranged with Germanic precision, reaching from floor to ceiling along the rear wall. The total weight exceeded 100 tons. Additional bags contained 701 sacks of American gold coins alone, each bag holding wealth that represented years of ordinary wages. General Dwight Eisenhower and General George Patton personally inspected the vault on April 12th, arriving with General Omar Bradley at approximately 10:30 in the morning. They descended in a rickety elevator that prompted Patton to joke that if the cable snapped, promotions in the United States Army would be considerably stimulated. Eisenhower reportedly told him to save the jokes until they returned to the surface. They walked past rows of sealed bags from the Reichsbank stamped with Berlin branch markings, each one representing wealth stolen from occupied nations. Separate chambers held paintings from 14 Prussian state museums, including works by Edouard Manet and Albrecht Dürer. The artwork alone represented 1/4 of Berlin's major museum holdings. Dr. Paul Ortwin Rev, curator of the German state museums, had been ordered to remain with the collection when it was evacuated from Berlin in March. When Americans questioned him, Rev confirmed that additional mines in the region held similar deposits. The Merkers discovery was not an isolated cache, but part of a systematic dispersal operation. The discovery validated intelligence reports that had seemed too extraordinary to believe. As Allied bombers devastated Berlin in early 1945, German officials were executing systematic evacuations of national reserves and looted wealth. On February 3rd, the United States 8th Air Force dropped 2,300 tons of bombs on Berlin, severely damaging the Reichsbank building and its currency printing presses. Walter Funk, president of the Reichsbank and Reich Minister of Economics, authorized emergency dispersal of reserves worth approximately $238 million in 1945 values. Between February 11 and March 31st, convoys moved 1/4 of major museum holdings and most of Germany's monetary reserves to mines throughout central Germany. The operation involved hundreds of trucks, dozens of trains, and thousands of personnel working under combat conditions as Allied forces advanced from multiple directions. Trains loaded with artwork traveled at night to avoid Allied aircraft. Trucks moved gold under armed guard through roads cratered by bombs. Workers unloaded precious cargo into mine shafts while air raid sirens wailed overhead. The entire operation proceeded with extraordinary urgency as the Reich's final collapse accelerated. But Merkers represented only what arrived at its destination. Intelligence officers reviewing German transport records discovered numerous documented departures with no corresponding arrival documentation. Manifests showed convoys leaving Berlin, Munich, and Vienna that never reached designated storage facilities. Some transport logs simply stopped mid-journey with no explanation. The question that emerged from Merkers wasn't just what the Americans had found, but what remained missing from operations that were clearly more extensive than any single mine could reveal. The Hungarian gold train provided the clearest documented case of a convoy that nearly vanished entirely. In March 1944, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Margaret, the German occupation of Hungary. The Arrow Cross government, led by Ferenc Szalasi, collaborated with occupiers in forcing Hungary's estimated 800,000 Jewish citizens to surrender all valuables, gold, jewelry, currency, artwork, and household goods were confiscated and deposited in banks throughout Hungary. As Soviet forces approached Budapest in late 1944, Hungarian officials organized the wealth into a train for evacuation. Arpad Toldi, a government commissioner, took charge of the operation. The train, assembled in December 1944, consisted of 52 freight cars. 29 were heavy-duty or specially reinforced for precious cargo. Documentation showed 1,560 cases carefully recorded and classified. Contents included more than 5 tons of gold, ranging from central bank reserves to wedding rings and dental fillings taken from Holocaust victims. 3 crates of wedding bands alone required 4 men to lift each one. Beyond gold, the train carried nearly 700 pounds of diamonds and pearls, 1,250 paintings, 5,000 Persian and Oriental rugs, and over 850 boxes of other valuables, including watches, silverware, stamp collections, and fine china. The inventory represented the accumulated possessions of an entire community, the furnishings of homes, the heirlooms of families, the daily objects of lives systematically destroyed. Estimates of total value ranged from $50 million to $350 million in 1945 currency, equivalent to between $570 million and $4 billion in modern values. The train departed Budapest in late December 1944 and stopped at Brenberg Banya, a mining town near the Austrian border, where it remained for 92 days. Toldi used this time to catalog contents and separate the most valuable items. On March 29, 1945, with Soviet forces 10 miles away, Toldi loaded 44 crates containing the highest value items onto several trucks and departed with his family. He instructed the train to proceed to Austria while he took a separate route. The train crossed into Austria and stopped multiple times to transfer additional gold to trucks. The fate of these trucks and their contents remains unknown. No documentation exists showing where they went or what happened to the gold they carried. The main train reached Werfen, Austria, on May 16, 1945, 9 days after Germany's surrender. French forces initially seized it, then transferred it to United States Army control. American authorities moved the contents to a warehouse in Salzburg for inventory and processing. What happened next became a scandal that took decades to fully emerge. Instead of attempting to identify owners or returning property to Hungary, senior American officers requisitioned valuables for personal use. Major General Harry Collins, commander of the 42nd Division, obtained complete dinner service for 45 people, 30 sets of table linens, 12 silver candlesticks, 60 bath towels, and 13 rugs from Gold Train property for his headquarters and residence. Other items were stolen from poorly guarded warehouses or sold through army exchanges. In 1948, despite protests from both the Hungarian Jewish community and the Hungarian government, the United States auctioned major portions of the haul in New York, raising $852,850 for refugee relief programs. The 44 crates that Toldi separated from the train never appeared in any inventory. Toldi attempted to enter Switzerland but was refused at the border due to weather-blocking mountain passes. He turned to SS officer Wilhelm Huddle, giving him 10% of the separated cargo, 4 cases of gold, in exchange for German passports and Swiss visas for his family. Toldi successfully entered Switzerland, but was later detained in Austria and interrogated by Allied authorities. He was released without charges in November 1945, and no official records document his whereabouts afterward. The remaining 40 crates simply disappeared. Toldi buried some treasure in various Tyrolean villages and at a brick factory in Feldkirch, according to witness reports, but recovery efforts found only portions of what he allegedly hid. French occupation authorities became guardians of some recovered items, which were transported to Paris in January 1947, but multiple crates remained unaccounted for in all subsequent investigations. The mathematics are striking. If Toldi separated the 44 most valuable crates and gave away only 40 crates containing the absolute highest value items from a train worth hundreds of millions, vanished completely. No one ever accounted for where they went or what happened to their contents. The Hungarian gold train demonstrated that large convoys could travel hundreds of miles, transfer portions of their cargo multiple times, and still result in significant portions vanishing. If this level of disappearance occurred with a documented catalog train that was eventually seized, what happened to convoys that were never found at all? The most famous legend of a lost convoy emerged decades after the war in Poland. According to accounts that surfaced in the 1950s and 1960s, railway workers and German soldiers reported seeing a train loaded with gold, art, and valuables enter tunnels in the Owl Mountains near Wałbrzych in May 1945 and never emerge. The story connected to Project Reese, a massive Nazi construction project that created over 35 miles of underground tunnels between 1943 and 1945 using forced labor from concentration camps. The project's scope was staggering. Workers carved chambers through solid rock, creating spaces large enough for factories, command centers, and storage facilities. Approximately 5,000 laborers died in the harsh conditions of 13 associated labor camps. The project's purpose remains unclear because Germans demolished many tunnels as Soviet forces approached, and most documentation was destroyed. Some historians believe it was intended as Hitler's final headquarters. Others suggest underground weapons production. The tunnel's true purpose died with their builders, but their existence fueled decades of speculation about what they might contain. In August 2015, treasure hunters Piotr Koper from Poland and Andreas Richter from Germany announced they had located a 320-foot-long train using ground-penetrating radar near the 65-kilometer mark of the Wrocław-Wałbrzych railway line. They claimed the train was buried 8 to 9 meters underground in a sealed tunnel. Polish authorities cordoned off the area and deployed guards to prevent treasure hunters from flooding the region. The government negotiated a 10% finder's fee with Koper and Richter if they recovered a gold-laden train. The announcement generated international media coverage and significantly increased tourism to Wałbrzych. An independent study by Krakow's AGH University of Science and Technology found no evidence of any train at the site. Mining specialists from the Krakow Mining Academy supported this conclusion. Excavations continued into 2016 despite the negative findings. By August 2016, Koper and Richter abandoned the search and admitted they had discovered no train and no tunnel. They explained that the ground-penetrating radar image they interpreted as a train was actually a natural rock formation created by underground ice. The mayor of Wałbrzych acknowledged that the publicity generated approximately $200 million worth of global media attention for the town. But historians consider the Nazi gold train legend to be exactly that, a legend with no basis in documented evidence. No comprehensive Nazi archives captured during the Nuremberg trials contain manifests or orders referencing a train diverted into Wałbrzych area tunnels in early 1945, despite detailed logging of other high-value transports. The absence of such documentation contrasts sharply with verified operations like the Hungarian gold train and merkers mine, both of which left extensive paper trails. The Polish army conducted searches during the Cold War era and found nothing. More than 70 years of investigations, including modern technological approaches, have produced no evidence that any treasure train entered the Owl Mountains tunnels. What does have documented evidence is Nazi use of alpine lakes for disposal and storage. In 1959, Austrian authorities recovered cases from Lake Toplitz containing $134 million worth of counterfeit British sterling. The operation was part of a Nazi plan to destabilize the United Kingdom economy by flooding it with forged currency. Divers who attempted to search the lake for reported gold deposits faced dangerous conditions, and several died in the attempts. The lake remains a focus of treasure hunting despite producing only the counterfeit currency and no actual gold. According to captured German documents, Heinrich Himmler authorized 3 trucks with troop escort to travel from Berlin to Bavaria in April 1945. Post-war accounts from residents near Lake Walchen describe seeing troops on the shore during the same time frame. The trucks and their contents were never recovered. Similar claims exist for Lake Lunar, where, according to prisoner accounts, a captured Nazi war criminal told his appointed doctor, Wilhelm Gross, about a fortune in gold bars, jewelry, and rare stamps buried on the shore under an alpine hut. The specific location was never precisely documented, and searches have found nothing. Alpine lakes made strategic sense for disposal operations. They offered deep water, remote locations, and steep surrounding terrain that made recovery difficult. If convoys were ambushed by partisan forces or Allied aircraft, or if commanders decided material couldn't reach intended destinations, sinking valuables in lakes prevented capture, while theoretically allowing later recovery if circumstances changed. The counterfeit currency discovery at Lake Toplitz proves Germans used lakes for exactly this purpose, which lends credibility to witness accounts of similar operations at other locations. The immediate post-war period saw extensive Allied efforts to track missing Nazi assets. In 1946, the Tripartite Commission for the Restitution of Monetary Gold was established to catalog and return stolen valuables to original owners. American forces had confiscated 5 million valuable items by war's end, The commission faced enormous challenges. Transported items were often repacked, losing original containers and labels indicating ownership. The Hungarian gold train exemplified this problem. Property was repacked multiple times, making identification nearly impossible even when survivors could describe their possessions in detail. The commission successfully returned some materials, but billions in 1945 values remained unaccounted for in all investigations. Modern searches employ technology unavailable to immediate post-war investigators. Ground-penetrating radar, underwater drones, proton magnetometers, and bottom sonar allow detailed examination of sites without excavation. These tools produced the false positive in Poland that generated the 2015 gold train excitement, demonstrating both the capabilities and limitations of current technology. Natural geological formations can produce signatures that resemble human-made structures. Underwater sediment can hide objects, while making identification uncertain without physical recovery, which requires expensive and risky diving operations in deep alpine lakes. What does documentation prove about missing assets? Reichsbank records show that Berlin held reserves worth $238 million that were ordered dispersed in February 1945. Merkers mine contained approximately 100 tons of gold, but records indicate multiple other mines received shipments. Not all designated facilities were located before Soviet forces occupied eastern Germany, and not all were documented in captured records. Some mines were destroyed, either by Allied bombing, German demolition, or natural collapse. The Owl Mountains Project Reese tunnels were deliberately demolished in many sections, potentially sealing chambers that were never reopened. If gold or art was stored in chambers that were then destroyed, recovery became impossible without knowing exact locations. Art presents a particularly complex tracking challenge. Records show that hundreds of thousands of pieces were looted from museums, galleries, churches, and private collections across occupied Europe. The Einsatzstab Reichsleiter Rosenberg cataloged 21,000 objects from Jewish-owned collections alone. Germans transported 118,000 railway wagons of looted material. Most significant pieces were designated for Hitler's planned Führermuseum in Linz, Austria, which was never built. When the war ended, these items were scattered across Germany and occupied territories in mines, tunnels, castles, and warehouses. American forces recovered many pieces from merkers in similar locations, but comprehensive accounting proved impossible. Individual families can document specifics, paintings or valuables that belonged to them and were confiscated, yet those items never appeared in any recovered cache. A Rembrandt last seen being loaded onto a truck in Amsterdam. Family silver, documented in Hungarian records that never appeared anywhere. Each missing piece represents cultural heritage that vanished into the chaos of war's end. The mathematics remain stark even after decades of investigation. Post-war audits suggest Nazi Germany acquired over 600 tons of gold through confiscation, forced sales, and outright seizure, though precise figures remain contested due to incomplete records and destruction of evidence. The Swiss National Bank received approximately $440 million of Nazi gold during the war, over half of which was believed to be looted. These figures are documented in banking records, yet when totaling all recovered caches, all repatriated reserves, and all materials returned to countries of origin, significant discrepancies remain between what Germany is documented to have possessed and what was found after surrender. Some explanations don't require hidden convoys. Soviet forces removed thousands of railway cars of material as reparations with minimal documentation. Individual German officials smuggled valuables in the war's chaos, and Allied soldiers occasionally stole from captured warehouses. These account for some disappearances, but German transport records also show shipments that cannot be traced to their stated destinations. The trucks from the Hungarian gold train carrying portions of Toldi's separated cargo have no known arrival records. His remaining 40 crates, documented in initial inventories, cannot be accounted for in subsequent recovery efforts. These aren't legends like the ghost train in Poland, they are specific, documented gaps in the historical record. The lost convoys of 1945 aren't treasure hunter fantasies, but historical crimes with incomplete accounting. Descendants still seek recovery of documented family property that was confiscated but never recovered. The line between what was destroyed, what was stolen, what was lost to chaos, and what remains hidden has blurred beyond clarity. What history proves is that billions of dollars in documented wealth moved across collapsing Germany in early 1945. Massive caches like merkers were successfully hidden and later found. Yet, despite 7 decades of investigation, significant amounts documented in German records were never accounted for in Allied recovery efforts. That incomplete reckoning remains the true mystery, one more troubling than any legend of gold trains buried in mountain tunnels.